One of the most dangerous things you can do to your heart is make another human being responsible for your happiness. Because people change, people get busy, people disappoint you, people leave. And if your happiness depends on their attention, their messages, their approval, or their presence, then every change in them will shake you. Islam teaches you something far stronger. Love people, appreciate people, be kind to people, but do not hand them control of your heart. There is a level of strength that comes when you can sit alone, walk alone, rebuild alone, and still say, Allah is with me, and that is enough. Today, we need to talk about how to reach that place. #1. Stop asking people to give you what only Allah can give. There are many beautiful things people can give you. They can give you companionship when you feel alone. They can encourage you when you feel tired. They can listen to you when your heart feels heavy. They can advise you when you are confused. They can support you when life becomes difficult. They can love you, care for you, forgive you, and stand beside you. All of these things matter. But there is a mistake we sometimes make. We begin expecting people to give us something they were never capable of giving permanently. We expect them to become the source of our happiness. We expect them to make us feel complete. We expect them to remove every insecurity. We expect them to make us feel valuable every single day. We expect them to always understand us, always answer us, always reassure us, always behave the way we want. And the moment they fail, our emotional world begins to collapse. My dear brothers and sisters, no human being can carry that responsibility forever. Not your spouse, not your parents, not your children, not your friends, not even the person who loves you more than anyone else. Every human being has limitations. They have good days and difficult days. They have moments when they understand you and moments when they do not. They have their own fears, responsibilities, pressures, and struggles. Sometimes they will be present for you. Sometimes they may not have the emotional strength to give you what you want. That does not always mean they stopped caring. Sometimes it simply means they are human. Think about how often relationships become painful because of unrealistic expectations. A husband expects his wife to always know what he needs without him explaining it. A wife expects her husband to remove every feeling of sadness or insecurity. A parent expects their children to always make them feel needed. A person expects a friend to answer immediately whenever they are struggling. Then when that person does not respond the way they hoped, they say, "You have changed." Sometimes that is true, but sometimes what changed was not the person. Sometimes the expectation became too heavy. You are asking a human being to give you emotional security that only Allah can give in its deepest form. You are asking creation to become your foundation, and creation was never meant to be your foundation. This is why your relationship with Allah must come first. When you feel unseen, remind yourself that Allah sees everything. He sees the tears nobody noticed. He knows the thoughts you could not explain. He knows the nights when you smiled in front of people and then struggled when you were alone. When you feel unheard, remember that Allah hears even the dua you could barely put into words. When you feel forgotten, remember that Allah has not forgotten you. When you feel uncertain about what comes next, remember that Allah already knows the road ahead. And when you begin building this connection with Allah, your relationship with people becomes healthier. You stop demanding constant reassurance. You stop panicking every time somebody becomes quiet. You stop thinking, if this person leaves me, my life is finished. You begin saying, I value this person, I love this person, I am grateful for this person, but my entire heart does not belong to them. That is not coldness, that is balance. Islam does not teach us to become emotionally distant from everyone. It teaches us to put everything in its correct place. Love people, care for them, treat them well, be loyal, be present. But do not make another human being your emotional God. Do not make their approval the measure of your worth. Do not make their attention the condition for your happiness. Do not make their presence the only reason you feel secure. Because if your happiness depends entirely on people, then every change in their behavior will control you. A message will make your day. Silence will ruin your day. A compliment will make you confident. Criticism will make you doubt yourself. Their presence will make you feel alive. Their absence will make you feel empty. That is not the kind of freedom you want for your heart. Your heart becomes stronger when it learns to receive love from people without becoming addicted to their validation. You can appreciate somebody without needing them to constantly prove that you matter. You can love somebody without living in fear that one day they may leave. You can enjoy someone's presence without making them responsible for your emotional survival. And when you learn this, you actually begin loving people better, because now you are not squeezing them emotionally. You are not constantly asking, do you still love me? Do you still care? Why did you not reply? Why are you different today? You give them room to be human. You stop turning every small change into a crisis. And most importantly, you start returning your deepest emotional needs to Allah. You ask Allah for strength. You ask Allah for contentment. You ask Allah for guidance. You ask Allah to heal what is broken inside you. You ask Allah to make your heart firm. And people become a blessing in your life, but they are no longer the foundation of your life. That foundation belongs to Allah. And when your foundation is strong, you can love people deeply without losing yourself in them. #2. People will disappoint you, so do not build your whole life around them. One of the hardest lessons in life is accepting that even good people can disappoint you. Someone can love you and still hurt you. Someone can care about you and still misunderstand you. Someone can promise to stay and later become distant. Someone can support you for years and then suddenly change. And if you are not prepared for this reality, every disappointment will feel like your whole world is falling apart. My dear brothers and sisters, people are human. That sounds simple, but many of us forget it when we become emotionally attached. We start expecting consistency from people that no human being can guarantee. We expect them to always understand us, always be available, always speak kindly, always choose us, always keep the same feelings, always behave the way they did in the beginning. But people change, circumstances change, responsibilities change, emotions change. Sometimes a person becomes busy, sometimes they become tired, sometimes they go through something they never told you about, sometimes they become careless. And yes, sometimes they simply stop valuing the relationship the way they once did. That can be painful. But the pain becomes much worse when you built your entire identity around that person. This is where many people make a serious mistake. They make one relationship the center of their life. One friendship becomes everything. One spouse becomes their entire emotional world. One child becomes the only reason they feel important. One person's attention becomes the measure of whether the day is good or bad. Then when that person changes, everything collapses. You stop eating properly. You stop sleeping properly. You stop focusing on your work. You stop enjoying anything. You stop praying with concentration. You stop seeing the people who still care about you. Your whole life becomes focused on one question: why did they change? But sometimes the better question is, why did I give one person so much power over my emotional state? That question is uncomfortable, but it can set you free. You cannot control whether people stay. You cannot control whether someone changes their mind. You cannot control whether a friend becomes distant. You cannot control whether someone recognizes your loyalty. You cannot control whether people treat your heart carefully. What you can control is how deeply you allow your entire life to depend on them. This does not mean you become cold. It does not mean you never trust anyone. It does not mean you expect betrayal from everybody. That would be unhealthy too. It simply means you understand that every human relationship exists within the decree of Allah. People are part of your journey, but they are not the owner of your journey. Allah is. Sometimes a person will walk beside you for 20 years. Sometimes they will stay for 2 years. Sometimes they will enter your life only long enough to teach you something. You may not understand it while it is happening. You may think, why did Allah allow this person to leave? But years later, you may look back and realize that the separation forced you to grow in ways you never would have grown if everything had remained comfortable. Maybe you learned to rely on Allah more. Maybe you discovered strength you did not know you had. Maybe you finally developed independence. Maybe you stopped tolerating behavior you should never have accepted. Maybe you realized that you were more afraid of being alone than you were of being mistreated. And perhaps that realization was necessary. There are people who stay in unhealthy situations for years simply because they cannot imagine life without the other person. They say, but we have known each other for so long. Length does not automatically mean health. They say, but I cannot start again. You may not want to start again, but sometimes beginning again is better than spending another decade slowly losing yourself. They say, but what if nobody else comes? Your life does not become worthless because someone leaves. Your relationship with Allah does not disappear. Your responsibilities do not disappear. Your purpose does not disappear. Your potential does not disappear. A person leaving your life does not mean Allah has left your life. Never confuse the two. This is why you must build a life that has more than one pillar. Have a strong connection with Allah, have goals, have responsibilities, maintain good family ties where possible, develop useful skills, take care of your health, learn, work, serve others, build a life that has meaning beyond one relationship. Then if someone disappoints you, you will still feel the pain because you are human, but the pain will not erase you. You will grieve without becoming hopeless. You will feel the loss without losing your entire identity. You will say, this hurts, but I still have Allah. I still have a life. I still have responsibilities. I still have another morning to wake up to. That is strength. And remember something else. You have disappointed people too. Maybe without realizing it. Maybe you were unavailable when someone needed you. Maybe you misunderstood somebody. Maybe you forgot something important. Maybe you became distant during your own struggles. This should make you more balanced. Do not place people on a pedestal, because the higher you place them, the harder they fall in your eyes when they make a mistake. See people as they are. Good qualities and weaknesses, strengths and limitations. Love them realistically. Respect them realistically. Forgive what can be forgiven. Address what needs to be addressed. Set boundaries where boundaries are necessary, but do not build your whole emotional existence around the idea that another human being will never disappoint you. That expectation will destroy you. The believer knows that disappointment is part of life, but disappointment does not have to become despair. If someone changes, you adjust. If someone leaves, you heal. If someone hurts you, you learn. If a relationship ends, you do not declare your life over. You turn back to Allah. You take the lesson. You protect your dignity and you continue walking. Because sometimes Allah allows a person to leave so that you finally discover that your strength was never inside that person. It was always in the one who carried you before they came, while they were there, and after they were gone. #3. Learn to enjoy your own company. A lot of people are not actually afraid of being alone. They are afraid of what they will feel when there is nobody around to distract them. That is the real issue. When the messages stop, when the room becomes quiet, when nobody is calling, when there is no conversation, no entertainment, no constant noise, suddenly you are left with yourself. And for some people, that is uncomfortable. My dear brothers and sisters, if you cannot sit with yourself, then you will eventually start accepting the wrong people just to avoid being alone. That is where the danger begins. You start keeping friendships that drain you. You keep answering people who disrespect you. You remain attached to people who only remember you when they need something. You tolerate behavior you know is wrong, not because you truly want those people in your life, but because the idea of having nobody feels worse. That means the fear of loneliness is controlling your decisions. And when fear is making your choices, you often choose badly. You have to learn that being alone is not the same as being lonely. Those two things are different. You can be surrounded by many people and still feel deeply lonely. You can sit in a crowded room and feel completely unseen. You can have hundreds of contacts in your phone and still have nobody you feel safe talking to. And at the same time, you can spend an entire day alone and feel grounded, productive, grateful, and connected to Allah. So the problem is not always the absence of people. Sometimes the problem is the absence of a meaningful relationship with yourself and with Allah. You need to learn how to use solitude instead of fearing it. When you are alone, you finally have space to think. You can ask yourself questions you normally avoid. What am I becoming? What habits are harming me? What kind of people am I allowing into my life? What do I keep tolerating because I am afraid of losing someone? What do I need to improve? What is my relationship with Allah actually like when nobody is watching? These are important questions. But you usually do not hear them when your entire life is full of noise. Solitude gives you room to notice what is happening inside you. And that can be uncomfortable in the beginning. You may notice sadness, you may notice insecurity, You may notice that you have been depending too much on other people. You may realize that you have been seeking constant attention because you do not know how to reassure yourself. You may realize that your phone has become your escape from your own thoughts. That realization can hurt, but it can also become the beginning of growth, because once you recognize what is happening, you can work on it. Use your alone time properly. Do not sit there staring at the phone waiting for somebody to rescue you from boredom. Do something with your life. Read something beneficial. Learn a skill. Go for a walk. Take care of your body. Organize your home. Write down your goals. Call your parents. Spend time with family. Work on something you have been delaying. Read Quran. Make dhikr. Make dua. Sit quietly and think about where your life is going. When you begin filling your time with meaningful things, being alone starts feeling different. It stops feeling like punishment. It starts feeling like space. Space to improve, space to breathe, space to rebuild, space to reconnect with Allah. And something important happens when you become comfortable with your own company. Your standards change. You stop accepting people simply because they are available. You stop thinking, at least I have someone. No, having someone is not always better than having nobody. The wrong company can be more damaging than solitude. A person who constantly disrespects you, manipulates you, pulls you away from Allah, makes you anxious or makes you feel small is not automatically better than being alone. Sometimes being alone protects you. Sometimes Allah removes noise from your life so you can finally hear what your heart has been trying to tell you. And sometimes you need a season when nobody is distracting you from the work you need to do on yourself. Do not rush to fill every empty space with another person. People do this after friendships end. They immediately search for new friends. After relationships end, they immediately want another relationship. After someone leaves, they want a replacement. Why? Because silence feels too heavy. But if you constantly replace people without understanding what happened, you carry the same emotional dependence into the next relationship. You never actually heal. You just change faces. Learn to sit in the empty space for a while. Let Allah teach you there. Let yourself become stronger there. Let yourself discover that you are capable of functioning without constant attention. You can wake up without someone messaging you first. You can enjoy your day without needing approval. You can eat alone. You can travel alone. You can work alone. You can sit with your thoughts. You can build something quietly. You can make decisions without asking 10 people what they think. There is strength in that. But again, this does not mean isolating yourself from everyone. Islam encourages good companionship. We need people, we need family, we need community, we need sincere friends. But needing connection is different from being emotionally dependent on constant company. You should be able to enjoy people without fearing your own solitude. That balance matters, and once you develop it, you become much harder to manipulate. Why? Because people can no longer control you with the threat of leaving. If someone says, "Do what I want or I will go," you are not terrified. If somebody becomes distant, you do not immediately abandon your dignity and chase them. If somebody stops including you, you do not beg for access. You know that even if a season becomes quiet, you will be okay. You have Allah, you have yourself, you have things to build. You have responsibilities, you have a future. And that is when loneliness begins losing its power over you. You stop saying, "I need someone around me all the time." Instead, you begin saying, "I am grateful for good people, but I am not afraid of my own company." That is a powerful place to reach, because when you are no longer afraid of being alone, you stop choosing people out of desperation. You start choosing them with wisdom. You no longer ask, "Who will keep me company?" You begin asking, "Who deserves access to my life?" And that is a much better question. #4. Stop chasing people who have already shown you their priorities. One of the most exhausting things you can do to yourself is keep chasing people who have already shown you where you stand. You keep sending the message first. You keep trying to fix the distance. You keep asking whether everything is okay. You keep making excuses for their behavior. You keep telling yourself, maybe they are just busy. Maybe they are. But sometimes, my dear brothers and sisters, the pattern is already clear. They make time for what matters to them. They respond when they want to. They show effort where they feel effort is worth giving. And if you are constantly the only person carrying the relationship, then you need to stop pretending that everything is balanced. This does not mean you become bitter. It does not mean you become arrogant. It does not mean you cut people off over one delayed reply or one difficult week. People have responsibilities. People get tired. People go through things privately. So you should be fair. But fairness does not mean ignoring a repeated pattern for months or years. There is a big difference between someone being temporarily unavailable and someone consistently showing you that you are not a priority. Learn to notice the difference. If someone values you, you normally do not have to beg for basic respect. You should not constantly have to remind them to speak to you properly. You should not always be the one checking in. You should not be the only one apologizing. You should not be carrying every conversation, repairing every misunderstanding, making every plan, and keeping the connection alive by yourself. A relationship cannot survive on one person's effort forever. At some point you have to ask yourself, why am I trying so hard to hold on to someone who seems comfortable losing me? That question can hurt, but sometimes pain tells you something your emotions were refusing to accept. You may be chasing the memory of who they used to be. You may be attached to how they treated you in the beginning. You may be hoping the old version of the relationship will return. So every time they give you a small amount of attention, you become hopeful again. Then they become distant. Then you feel rejected. Then they return. Then you feel relieved. And this cycle continues. You are not experiencing stability. You are surviving on emotional crumbs. And when your heart becomes dependent on small moments of attention, you can start calling inconsistency love. It is not always love. Sometimes it is simply attachment. You are afraid to let go because you think losing them means losing something important about yourself. But your dignity matters too. Your emotional health matters, your time matters, your focus matters, and most importantly, your relationship with Allah matters. If chasing someone is making you neglect your salah, lose concentration, obsess over your phone, constantly overthink, or become consumed with anxiety, then the attachment has already become too powerful. You need to step back, not to punish them, not to manipulate them, not so they suddenly realize your value and come running back. That is not the point. You step back because you need to protect yourself from becoming emotionally dependent on someone who is giving you inconsistent effort. There is wisdom in allowing people to reveal themselves. Stop doing all the work for them. Sometimes you never discover how little someone values the connection because you are constantly compensating for their lack of effort. You keep calling, you keep arranging, you keep apologizing, you keep checking. So the relationship continues, but only because you are carrying it. Try stepping back, not dramatically, not with anger. Just stop forcing, stop over-explaining, stop begging for attention, stop trying to convince someone that you deserve basic care. Then watch what happens. If the relationship matters to them, they will make some effort. If they do nothing, then you have learned something important. And yes, that truth can be painful, but clarity is better than constant confusion. Some people spend years asking, do they really care about me? If you have to ask that question every single week, something is wrong. Healthy relationships are not perfect, but they should not leave you constantly guessing whether you matter. There should be some consistency, some mutual effort, some basic respect. And if that is missing, you must stop fighting reality. You cannot force someone to appreciate you. You cannot force loyalty. You cannot force someone to choose you. You cannot force someone to communicate. And the harder you try to force these things, the more exhausted you become. Your responsibility is your character. Be kind, be honest, communicate clearly, forgive where forgiveness is appropriate, make reasonable effort. But once you have done your part, do not destroy yourself trying to control their part. Leave that with Allah. Sometimes a person walking away is not the tragedy you think it is. Sometimes it is Allah removing a distraction. Sometimes it is Allah showing you that you were depending too much on someone. Sometimes it is simply the end of a chapter. Not every person who enters your life is supposed to stay forever. That is difficult to accept because we want permanence from temporary things. We want the same people, same feelings, same closeness, same routines forever. Life does not work like that. People move, people change. Priorities shift, and sometimes two people simply grow in different directions. Accepting that does not make you heartless. It makes you realistic. And if someone chooses distance, you do not have to chase them into it. Give them the space they asked for through their actions. Wish them well. Make dua for them if appropriate, but keep moving. Your life should not stop because somebody became distant. Continue your work, continue your goals, continue your worship, continue improving yourself, continue serving your family, continue building a future. Do not spend your best years waiting for someone to suddenly recognize what they repeatedly ignored, and never confuse chasing with loyalty. Loyalty is beautiful when it is mutual and healthy, but constantly abandoning your dignity to keep somebody close is not loyalty, it is fear. Fear of being alone, fear of starting again, fear of accepting that the relationship has changed. Sometimes courage is not holding on. Sometimes courage is accepting what the other person has already shown you. You say, I will not hate you, I will not chase you, I will not beg you. I will not keep forcing something that has become one-sided. And then you turn your heart back to Allah, because the person you were chasing was never the source of your future. Allah is. The person you were afraid to lose was never the one controlling your provision, your purpose, or your destiny. Allah is. So if somebody repeatedly shows you their priorities, believe the pattern. Do not argue with reality. Do not humiliate yourself trying to become important to someone who keeps treating you as optional. Respect yourself enough to stop forcing, and trust Allah enough to know that what leaves your life does not take your entire future with it. #5. Your worth does not increase when people praise you, or decreased when they ignore you. One of the easiest traps to fall into is allowing other people to decide how you feel about yourself. Someone praises you and suddenly you feel confident. Someone ignores you and suddenly you feel unimportant. Someone compliments your work and you feel valuable. Someone criticizes you and you begin questioning everything. My dear brothers and sisters, if your sense of worth changes every time another person changes their opinion of you, then your heart will never be stable, because people change their opinions all the time. The same person who praises you today may criticize you tomorrow. The same person who once admired you may eventually stop noticing you. The same people who celebrate you when you succeed may become silent when you struggle. And if you build your identity on their reactions, then every change in their behavior will feel like a judgment on your value. That is a dangerous way to live. Your worth does not suddenly increase because people applaud you, and it does not disappear because people overlook you. You are not more valuable because someone chose you. You are not less valuable because someone rejected you. You are not successful simply because people praise you. And you are not a failure simply because people misunderstand you. Human opinion is not the final measurement of your life. Allah sees what people do not see. He sees your intentions. He sees the effort nobody noticed. He sees the sacrifices nobody thanked you for. He sees the nights when you were struggling but still got up and carried your responsibilities. He sees the kindness you gave when nobody praised you for it. He sees the temptation you walked away from. He sees the mistakes you sincerely repented from. He sees what is inside the heart. That should matter more to you than applause. Today, many people have become addicted to validation without realizing it. They post something and immediately check who reacted. They send a message and keep checking whether it was seen. They do something good and feel disappointed if nobody acknowledges it. They enter a room and immediately wonder, what are people thinking about me? They measure themselves by attention. How many people noticed me? How many people invited me? How many people replied? How many people complimented me? How many people approve of what I am doing? This becomes exhausting because there is no end to it. Even if 100 people praise you, your mind will focus on the one person who did not. Even if everyone seems impressed, you will still wonder whether they really mean it. That is because validation from people can never permanently satisfy the heart. You always need another compliment, another reaction, another confirmation, another person telling you that you are doing well. And once you become dependent on that, people gain control over your emotions. A compliment can lift you too high. A criticism can push you too low. You become emotionally controlled by opinions. The believer should aim for something stronger. Ask yourself, would I still do what is right if nobody praised me? Would you still help someone if nobody ever found out? Would you still give charity if your name was never mentioned? Would you still work hard if nobody applauded your effort? Would you still improve yourself if nobody noticed the difference? Would you still worship Allah sincerely if there was no audience at all? These questions reveal where your motivation is coming from. There is something powerful about doing good quietly. Not because you are hiding from people, but because you no longer need every good action to be witnessed. You know Allah saw it, and that is enough. This also changes the way you handle criticism. When someone criticizes you, you do not immediately collapse. You ask, is there truth in what they are saying? If there is, learn from it. Correct yourself, improve. Do not let pride stop you from accepting useful advice. But if the criticism is unfair, insulting, or based on misunderstanding, then you do not have to carry it around for the next 5 years. Not every opinion deserves permanent space in your mind. Some people criticize because they are genuinely trying to help. Some criticize because they are unhappy with themselves. Some criticize because they misunderstood you. Some criticize because your growth makes them uncomfortable. And some people will dislike you no matter how carefully you behave. If you spend your life trying to make everyone approve of you, you will eventually lose yourself. You will change your personality depending on who is in the room. You will say yes when you mean no. You will remain silent when you should speak. You will abandon your values because you are afraid of disappointing people. You will become whatever they want you to become. And then one day you will ask yourself, who am I actually living for? That is why you need a stronger standard. Live in a way that you can answer to Allah. Try to be sincere. Try to be fair. Try to improve your character. Apologize when you are wrong. Correct yourself when needed. But stop demanding universal approval. You will never get it. Even the best people were criticized. Even the prophets were rejected, mocked, and misunderstood. So why do you imagine that if you become good enough, everybody will suddenly understand and appreciate you? That is unrealistic. There will always be someone who does not like what you do. There will always be someone who thinks you should have chosen differently. There will always be someone who misunderstands your intention. Accept that. Your job is not to control every opinion. Your job is to control your character. There is another important side to this. Do not become addicted to praise either. Sometimes criticism is not what destroys people. Praise does. A person receives constant compliments and slowly begins believing they are better than everyone else. They stop listening, they stop learning, they become arrogant, they begin working for admiration instead of Allah. So praise should not control you either. When someone says something kind about you, appreciate it. Say Alhamdulillah. But do not build a throne out of compliments. Remember your weaknesses. Remember your dependence on Allah. Remember that every ability you have is a blessing from Him. This keeps you balanced. Neither inflated by praise nor destroyed by criticism. That is emotional strength. And when people ignore you, do not automatically assume it means you are worthless. People are busy. People have their own lives. People forget. Sometimes they simply do not recognize what you bring. That does not erase your value. You do not need to force people to notice you. Keep building, keep improving, keep doing what is right. Let your character speak. Let your consistency speak. Let your actions speak. And most importantly, let your relationship with Allah become more important than your reputation with people. Because reputation is what people think you are. Character is what Allah knows you are trying to become. There is a huge difference. So the next time someone praises you, do not become addicted to it. And the next time someone ignores you, do not fall apart. The next time someone criticizes you, examine the truth without surrendering your entire identity to their opinion. And the next time someone fails to recognize your worth, remember this: your worth was never waiting for their permission. You were never created to spend your life begging creation to tell you that you matter. Seek Allah's pleasure. Improve what is inside you. Do good whether people notice or not. And when your heart learns to live from that place, you become much harder to shake, because people can change their opinion of you, but they no longer get to decide who you are. #6. Do not confuse attachment with love. One of the biggest mistakes people make in relationships is confusing attachment with love. They think, I cannot live without this person, therefore I must love them deeply. But that is not always love. Sometimes it is fear. Sometimes it is insecurity. Sometimes it is emotional dependence. Sometimes it is the panic of imagining life without someone you have become used to. My dear brothers and sisters, love can be beautiful, But attachment can become dangerous when it starts controlling your mind, your decisions, your dignity, and even your relationship with Allah. Love says, I care about you. Attachment says, I need you to behave a certain way so that I can feel okay. Love says, I am grateful that you are in my life. Attachment says, if you leave, my life is finished. Love gives room. Attachment suffocates. Love can survive healthy distance. Attachment panics at every small change. Love respects boundaries. Attachment constantly wants reassurance. Love allows the other person to be human. Attachment turns every delayed reply, every quiet mood, every change in routine into a crisis. This is why you need to be honest with yourself. Ask yourself, do I love this person or have I become dependent on their attention? There is a difference. If your entire day depends on how someone speaks to you in the morning, that is a warning sign. If you cannot concentrate because someone did not reply, that is a warning sign. If your mood changes every time they become distant, that is a warning sign. If you are constantly checking whether they still care about you, that is a warning sign. If you tolerate disrespect because you are afraid they might leave, that is a serious warning sign. Because healthy love should not require you to abandon yourself. You can love somebody deeply and still have boundaries. You can care about somebody and still say no. You can forgive someone without allowing the same harmful behavior forever. You can be loyal without becoming emotionally enslaved. And you can miss someone without making your entire life stop because they are not there. Some people think that constant anxiety is proof of deep love. They say, I worry about losing them all the time because I love them so much. But sometimes you are not afraid of losing the person. You are afraid of losing the identity you built around them. You made them part of how you define yourself. You made their attention part of your confidence. You made their approval part of your sense of worth. So when they pull away, it does not just feel like you are losing a relationship. It feels like you are losing yourself. That is why attachment can hurt so badly. And this is exactly where you need to return to Allah. Because no person should become the center of your existence. Your spouse should not replace Allah. Your children should not replace Allah. Your closest friend should not replace Allah. The person you love most in the world should never become more important to your heart than the one who created that heart. Allah should remain first. When Allah is first, everything else finds its proper place. You can love your family deeply. You can love your spouse deeply. You can love your friends deeply. But you remember that they are blessings from Allah, not gods of your emotional life. You are grateful for them, but you do not worship their presence. You appreciate them, but you do not make your entire happiness depend on them. You care about them, but you know they are human, and every human being is temporary. This is not a depressing thought. It is a reality that gives balance. Every relationship in this dunya is temporary in one form or another. People move, people change, people grow older, people pass away, circumstances shift. That is part of life. So if you demand permanence from something Allah created as temporary, your heart will constantly struggle. The believer learns to love while remembering Allah. That makes love healthier. You stop trying to control every outcome. You stop saying you must never change. You stop saying you must always choose me. You stop saying you must always be here. Instead you say, I am grateful for you today. I will treat you well. I will be loyal. I will make effort. But I know that my ultimate dependence is on Allah. That changes everything. It removes some of the fear. It removes some of the desperation. It removes the need to constantly test the relationship. Because people who are overly attached often create problems without realizing it. They keep asking, do you still love me? Why did you take so long to reply? Why did you sound different? Who are you talking to? Why did you not invite me? Why did you not tell me first? And slowly, love becomes surveillance. Love becomes control. Love becomes emotional pressure. This is not healthy for either person. A healthy relationship needs trust. It needs communication. It needs respect. It needs space. It needs the ability for both people to remain individuals while still caring for each other. You should not have to shrink yourself to keep someone. You should not have to abandon your values. You should not have to stop growing. You should not have to tolerate sin, manipulation, humiliation, or repeated disrespect just because you are afraid of being alone. And this applies to every kind of relationship. Friendships too. Some people keep friends who constantly insult them because they fear having nobody else. Some remain around people who pull them away from Allah because they do not want to lose the group. Some follow every opinion of their friends because they are terrified of rejection. That is not healthy loyalty. That is dependence. Your relationship with Allah must give you enough strength to say, I care about you, but I will not lose myself to keep you. That sentence can save you from many years of emotional confusion, and sometimes you may need to create distance from someone you still love. People think distance means hatred. Not always. Sometimes distance is wisdom. Sometimes you love someone, but you know the relationship is harming your faith, your focus, your dignity, or your emotional stability. So you step back, not because the love disappeared, but because you finally understood that love without boundaries can become destructive. You are allowed to protect your heart. You are allowed to protect your faith. You are allowed to protect your future. And if someone truly loves you, healthy boundaries should not automatically destroy the relationship. In fact, boundaries often reveal whether the relationship was based on love or control. A person who loves you may not always agree with your boundaries, but they will eventually respect that you are a human being with responsibilities and limits. A person who only wants control will become angry when they can no longer control your time, your attention, your decisions, or your emotions. Pay attention to that difference. And remember this as well. You should not become attached to the idea that somebody must remain exactly the same forever. People grow, their responsibilities change, marriage changes people's schedules, children change priorities, work changes availability, age changes energy, life changes all of us. If every change makes you feel abandoned, you will suffer unnecessarily. Learn to allow relationships to breathe. Not every reduction in attention is rejection. Not every disagreement means the relationship is ending. Not every quiet period means somebody stopped loving you. Attachment exaggerates every change. Wisdom looks at the whole pattern. So love people with balance. Be present. Be loyal. Give your best. Speak kindly. Apologize when you are wrong. Forgive what can be forgiven. But keep your heart anchored in Allah. Do not place a human being in a position where their presence becomes the condition for your ability to function. Because people are blessings, but Allah is the source of blessings. People can comfort you, but Allah is the one who ultimately gives strength to the heart. People can walk beside you, but Allah is the one who knows the entire road ahead. And when you finally understand the difference between love and attachment, your relationships become lighter, healthier, and more sincere. You stop loving from fear. You start loving from gratitude. You stop holding people so tightly that both of you are exhausted. You begin trusting Allah enough to appreciate people without trying to possess them. That is the balance. Love deeply, care sincerely, be grateful, but never make another human being the place where your entire heart rests. Let your deepest dependence remain with Allah, because when the heart belongs first to Allah, you can love people without losing yourself in them. 7. Build a life so full of purpose that you stop panicking over who stays and who leaves. Sometimes the reason you become too attached to people is not because they are extraordinary. It is because your own life has become too empty. You have nothing meaningful pulling you forward. No clear goals, no strong routine, no personal growth, no serious work on yourself, no sense of direction. So one person becomes everything. Their message becomes the highlight of your day. Their attention becomes your emotional fuel. Their silence becomes your anxiety. Their absence becomes your crisis. My dear brothers and sisters, this is why purpose matters. When your life has direction, you stop making people your entire destination. You begin to understand that relationships are part of your journey, but they are not the whole journey. Allah created you for more than chasing attention. You were not created to spend your days staring at your phone, wondering who remembered you. You were not created to measure your worth by who invited you, who replied to you, who called you, or who chose you. You have responsibilities. You have abilities. You have time that will never return. You have a relationship with Allah that needs attention. You have family members who may need you. You have skills you can develop. You have weaknesses you can improve. You have goals you can pursue. You have good you can do in this world. And when you start living with purpose, your emotional world begins to change. You become less desperate for constant attention because you have something meaningful to wake up for. You are no longer sitting around waiting for somebody to make your day interesting. You are already building a life that changes the way you see people. You stop asking, who will make me happy today? You start asking, what can I do today that brings me closer to Allah and improves my life? That is a much stronger question. Purpose does not mean you need some huge public mission. It does not mean you need to become famous. It does not mean you need to change the whole world. Purpose can be simple. Maybe your purpose right now is raising your children well. Maybe it is supporting your parents. Maybe it is improving your health. Maybe it is learning something beneficial. Maybe it is rebuilding your finances. Maybe it is strengthening your salah. Maybe it is leaving a bad habit. Maybe it is becoming more disciplined. Maybe it is helping people quietly. The point is that your life should have direction beyond another person. When your life has no direction, every relationship becomes too heavy. You expect people to entertain you. You expect them to motivate you. You expect them to reassure you. You expect them to give your days meaning. But no human being can carry all of that for you. They have their own life to live and you have yours. One of the most powerful things you can do is create a strong daily structure. Wake up with intention, pray, take care of your body, do your work properly, learn, read, exercise, build something, spend time with family, help somebody, make time for Quran, make dua, review your goals, go to sleep knowing you moved your life forward. When your days are full of meaningful action, you have less time to obsess over people. You stop checking your phone every 2 minutes. You stop creating stories in your head because someone has not replied. You stop over-analyzing every conversation. You become busy becoming someone better. That does not mean you ignore relationships. It means you stop allowing relationships to consume your entire identity. There is a difference. You can care deeply about someone and still have a life of your own. You can love someone and still have responsibilities. You can miss someone and still continue your day. You can experience disappointment and still show up for your duties. That is emotional maturity. A lot of people think being attached means being loyal. It does not. You can be loyal without losing yourself. You can be present without becoming dependent. You can care without becoming obsessed. And when your life has purpose, you naturally become more balanced. You also become more attractive to healthy people. Why? Because you are not asking them to carry you emotionally. You are bringing something to the relationship. You have your own goals, your own discipline, your own relationship with Allah, your own sense of responsibility. You are not demanding that someone become your entire world. That makes relationships healthier. Two people should support each other. They should not become each other's entire reason for existing. And this is especially important when someone leaves. If you built your whole life around them, their departure feels like the destruction of everything. But if you built a wider life, you still feel the loss, but there are other parts of you that remain standing. Your worship is still there. Your responsibilities are still there. Your goals are still there. Your family is still there. Your future is still there. Your relationship with Allah is still there. You can hurt and still continue. That is important because heartbreak often makes people believe life has stopped. It has not. You may need time, you may need space, you may need to grieve, but time keeps moving. And eventually you have to move with it. Do not spend 5 years emotionally standing at a door somebody closed. At some point you need to turn around and look at the rest of your life. There are other doors, there are other opportunities, there are other people, there are lessons. There is growth, there is still so much you have not seen. Do not reduce your entire future to one person who walked away. Sometimes Allah removes someone and you think you lost everything. Later you realize you had made that person too important. You had stopped building yourself. You had stopped thinking clearly. You had stopped imagining a future without them. Then separation forces you to wake up. You start exercising again. You start reading again. You start praying more seriously. You repair family relationships. You focus on work. You rediscover interests you abandoned. You become stronger. Months later, you look back and say, I thought losing them would destroy me, but Allah used that chapter to rebuild me. That is why you should not always interpret loss as the end. Sometimes it is redirection. Sometimes it is correction. Sometimes it is simply life moving you into another season. And the people who are meant to walk with you in that season may be different. Do not spend all your energy trying to force old relationships into new chapters. Some people were good for a particular season. Be grateful, take the lesson, then keep moving. There is another danger you should watch for. Sometimes when people lose someone, they immediately look for another person to fill the space. They do not rebuild their life, they just replace the attachment. New person, same dependence. New relationship, same insecurity. New face, same emotional problem. That will not solve anything. The deeper work is learning how to build a life that does not collapse when somebody leaves. You need habits, you need structure, you need faith, you need self-respect, you need purpose, you need discipline. You need things in your life that belong to you and your relationship with Allah, not to another person's mood. That is what creates stability. And sometimes purpose also means serving others. When you spend too much time thinking about who is ignoring you, one of the best things you can do is become useful. Help somebody, call someone who is struggling, give charity, teach what you know, support your family, volunteer, do something beneficial. It changes your perspective. You realize life is bigger than your personal disappointments. There are people dealing with difficulties far greater than a delayed message or a friendship becoming distant. This does not mean your feelings are meaningless. It means you do not allow them to become your whole world. You keep perspective, and remember, purpose is not only about productivity. Do not turn this into another form of escaping yourself. You do not need to stay busy every second just so you never feel anything. You still need reflection. You still need rest. You still need to process emotions. But there is a big difference between processing pain and building your identity around pain. Feel it, understand it, learn from it, then continue. Do not make sadness your permanent home. You are allowed to move forward. You are allowed to become interested in life again. You are allowed to laugh again. You are allowed to build again. You are allowed to enjoy your own company. You are allowed to stop waiting for someone who already made their choice. And when someone stays in your life, appreciate them. Do not take good people for granted. Tell them you value them. Show kindness. Make effort. Be loyal. Be present. But do not worship the relationship. Do not tell yourself, without you, I am nothing. You are a servant of Allah before you are anyone's friend, spouse, parent, child, or partner. That identity comes first. And when that identity is strong, everything else becomes more balanced. If people praise you, you remain grounded. If they criticize you, you examine yourself but do not collapse. If they stay, you are grateful. If they leave, you hurt but you continue. If they support you, you appreciate it. If they do not, you still do what needs to be done. This is what emotional strength looks like. Not becoming numb, not pretending you do not care, not becoming cold, but refusing to let another human being become the owner of your emotional life. Build a life where Allah is at the center. Build a life where you have discipline. Build a life where your days contain meaning. Build a life where you are growing. Build a life where you are useful. Build a life where your self-respect does not depend on somebody else staying close to you. Then you will notice something powerful. You will stop chasing as much. You will stop begging as much. You will stop over-explaining as much. You will stop panicking as much, because you finally understand that somebody leaving does not take your purpose with them. They do not take your future. They do not take your relationship with Allah. They do not take every good thing that may still be coming. So love people, value them, enjoy their company. Be grateful for sincere relationships, but keep building your life. Keep moving toward Allah. Keep becoming better. Keep fulfilling your responsibilities. Keep using the time you have been given. And when people come and go, do not let every change make you forget who you are. Some will stay, some will leave, some will surprise you, some will disappoint you, some will become memories, but Allah remains. And if you build your life around that truth, you will no longer need to panic every time someone chooses a different road. You will simply keep walking yours. My dear brothers and sisters, people will come and go. Some will stay for years, some only for a season. Love them, appreciate them, treat them well, but never make them the source of your happiness. Keep your heart attached to Allah first. When Allah is enough for your heart, you stop begging for attention, chasing people, and fearing every goodbye. Be grateful for those who stay, release those who leave, and keep walking forward with trust in Allah.